Hey, I did want to mark St. Paddy's Day before it's gone. It's been a bit of a tradition on the channel, more or less, but the timing hasn't worked out this year for anything fancy. But I did have a look at 3 short films that I wanted to pass along to you that I thought were pretty special, all from Network Ireland Television, somewhat appropriately, and all available for streaming in high quality on Canopy. 2 are suitable for kids. Those are both animated shorts, and the other more of a Dad After Dark, mature-themed live-action short dealing with some dark themes, though ultimately uplifting, I think. First, there's The Boy in the Bubble, narrated by the late, great Alan Rickman, an animated tale of young love, which, as we know, is at times misdirected by young infatuation. It's about a young schoolboy, Rupert, who's crazy about classic horror, but he falls for a girl in his class, based on not a whole lot, appearances, we assume, leading inevitably to his heartbreak, and to Rupert casting a spell to protect his heart in a bubble afterward. But now, with nothing ever reaching his heart, Rupert's life becomes dull and meaningless, and we see that some emotional risk is necessary to leading a rich, full life, something Rupert finds out when he matures a little bit and encounters another young girl who at least shares some of his interests. He breaks the spell, and it sets him on a path to a happier social life. The lesson is, of course, something you can readily share with your kids. All right, then we turn to a bit darker tale with Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty, which, though it revels in some dark humor, is so tongue-in-cheek that it's ultimately watchable for most ages, especially if your child has an advanced or dark sense of humor. Maybe not for kids prone to nightmares. Now here we get a tale within a tale of the somewhat myopic Granny O'Grim coming into her grandkid's room to read a bedtime story, wrapped up instead in a self-indulgent tale of her own bitterness about aging, with a unique twist on the classic fairy tale, this time with the 3 young beautiful fairies purposely not inviting the aging fairy to the birth of the young princess because she's so old and horrible and prone to falling asleep all the time. So when the crusty old fairy, resembling Granny, arrives anyway, railing against the ageism of the modern world, she places a spell on the entire kingdom that should they ever fall asleep, they will die. It's kind of hard to explain how funny that becomes when the tale cuts back to the bedroom of the grandchild at bedtime, now terrified to drop off. It requires, as I said, a bit of a dark sense of humor, and maybe not for your kids unless they're older, but very amusing for the right viewer. The strident voicing of Granny steals the show. The film is Oscar nominated and features the voice of Kathleen O'Rourke as Granny. And then we have a dramatic short, about 20 minutes long, which packs the punch, though, of a feature film. And it stars Sally Hawkins, who you might know from The Shape of Water and Blue Jasmine, which tells the simple story of a young woman working at a small crisis center taking phone calls. The film is called The Phone Call, of people in desperate moments of life. Now, this is not for kids. The film is remarkable, however, for the depth and intensity of the story, which comes out almost entirely through Hawkins' masterful range of expression. The film almost never leaves her desk at work at the crisis center while she arrives for her shift and takes a call from a sobbing older man from whom Hawkins teases out the details of his having taken irreversible steps, let's say, toward ending it. And the direction here is equally masterful as we understand, without spelling it out, that there's only minutes left before the caller, who gives his name as Stanley, will slip away. Now, in that short time, Hawkins' character, Heather, provides just heartbreaking support, keeping Stanley on the line without betraying his trust. It's her job, however, to occasionally ask him if he wants to change his mind. And if he lets slip any detail that identifies where exactly he is, she must try to dispatch help, all while maintaining a constant depth of real connection and support for Stanley. During these few minutes, some unique details of his life resonate with Heather's own life and her life choices and her self-image. And we finally see by the end that it's Stanley, perhaps, who may be saving Heather from a life of regret and lack of belief in herself. And the film ends on a brief epilogue, which, only for having met this character Stanley on the phone in his last moments, it had me close to tears in a way that, only a bit of the Irish melancholy can do. Now, yes, I know it's a British production. I'm aware of that. But it comes to us from Network Ireland Television, an independent TV and film distribution company out of Dublin. So I hope we're still cool. Now, men, I think, married men in particular, should watch the phone call because it'll have you feeling very appreciative of your wife or your significant other for the level of often unspoken, unremarked upon love and support that comes to us through these deep connections that we often take for granted and sometimes can't even find the words for. And it won an Academy Award, but at the risk of repetition, not for kids, for dads after dark only. Sally Hawkins, by the way, I had no idea. I missed her other films entirely. She's a raw talent. I'm going to go back and watch those other 2 movies I mentioned. Toot sweet. So there it is, 3 short films worth your time this St. Patrick's Day from Network Ireland, 2 for kids, 1 for grown-ups. I hope you'll enjoy them, and I hope I'll see you soon.